Good morning. Good morning. We're getting it together. And my name is Elizabeth, and I always forget to change my name on there. I will. My name is Elizabeth Muna, and I'm just really privileged, honored to be here today as we continue in our applied love for country, believe in country, building country. This is so important. And I was thinking this morning as we're getting on, and it's become a routine. And it's very exciting to see that the more people, more than we think, because definitely I am always excited to have our community on Zoom because, it's kind of like a warm body and we're together on that, fireplace. But really, we do have a lot of people who come on social media. And I think that in a time like this, with everything that's going on, we should be together. We should be able to talk. So, this season in Cameroon, of course, we're, you know, I I say that we're on this been so we're under control. Um, I almost want to say we're in crisis. That's just the president of America was watching, so it's a big deal. But really, what, what skipped my heart, and it just stopped everything for me in a different way. And I I want to see it as positive. And I know that we may differ in opinions, but I want just the fact that CNN could all I know that there's hope. So we're going to open up a conversation today, right here at Project C. And I think first off, do okay. I think I have okay. Never mind. So we're going to start off, and I want to introduce two people today as who are going to lead us. We have Leopold, who is with Project C, and Leopold, good morning. Good to see
views by someone like me, and people at different times, and a lot of people. So we're going to
Right.
the post speech.
Yes.
I don't. I, we all listen to it after that, and then of course we'll then go later on to the big topic for us.
So today, we're going to break down something pretty remarkable. It's a blueprint for peace, but he doesn't deliver quiet, peaceful hall. Understand, this is not just some polite ceremonial visit. No way. This is a head-on engagement with a nation that's really struggling, grappling with some deep-seated conflicts, and just this overwhelming feeling of powerlessness. And right out of the gate, he hits them with this incredibly powerful line. It just completely frames the entire address. See, instead of looking at Cameroon's huge diversity as a problem, as a source of conflict, he flips it. He presents it as the nation's greatest strength, the very foundation for a real lasting peace. This one line tells you everything you need to know about where he's going with this. Okay, so what's he actually doing there? Why this visit? Well, the speech makes his mission crystal clear, and let me tell you, it is not what you'd typically expect from a global leader. He's very, very specific about how he sees his role. He says, look, I'm not here as a politician. I'm not here to broker some power deal. Instead, he's positioning himself as more of a moral guide, right? A facilitator, someone whose only job is to help the process of dialogue and reconciliation along. And that is a really, really crucial distinction. And this just perfectly backs up that opening line we talked about. The Pope fully embraces this description of Cameroon as Africa in miniature. He's basically saying, hey, all this amazing diversity you have, all these different cultures and languages, that's not the problem. That's your superpower. That's the key to building a stronger, more unified country. But, he's not just there to talk about strengths. He doesn't pull any punches. Right after laying out his mission, he gets straight to the point, diagnosing the profound sufferings that the people of Cameroon are going through every day. And wow, the diagnosis is it's blunt. He calls out the violence that's tearing apart specific regions, the tragic loss of life, families being forced from their homes, and an entire generation of kids who aren't even able to go to school. But he also points to something deeper, this heavy, paralyzing sense of powerlessness that can just wash over a whole country when things get this bad. And then he makes this incredibly powerful appeal for empathy. He's insisting that we have to look past the cold, hard statistics, because these aren't just numbers on a page, right? Behind every single number is a real person, with a face, with a story, with hopes and dreams that have just been shattered. Okay, so he's laid out the diagnosis. Now comes the prescription. And this, right here, is the real heart of his message. It's a completely radical rethinking of what power and peace even mean. He kicks it off with a question, a really fundamental one that's aimed at every single person in that room with any kind of authority. Basically, how should a leader govern? And to answer that question, get this. He reaches all the way back 1,600 years to St. Augustine. It's incredible, really. He uses this ancient wisdom to define what real leadership is. It's not about dominating people. It's not about pride. It's a duty. It's a compassionate service to protect and provide. I mean, that just flips the whole modern idea of power completely on its head. And that idea leads him to his big concept, what he calls unarmed peace. And this is key. It's not just about the fighting stopping. He's arguing for a kind of peace that isn't built on armies and threats and fear. Instead, it's a proactive peace, a disarming peace, one that's built on things like trust and justice and empathy, the kind of peace that can actually get into people's hearts and change their minds.
Next, he takes on one of the biggest roadblocks to that kind of peace head on: corruption. He calls it a chain, this thirst for gain that just completely destroys a leader's credibility. So what's the answer? He lays out these two pillars of stability: total transparency with public money and a genuine, deep-seated respect for the rule of law. Simple, but so powerful.
So this blueprint, it keeps growing because he makes it super clear that this isn't something politicians can do on their own. No, the people themselves, they are the ones who are essential to making any real change happen. He has this great phrase for them: the artisans of peace. And who are they? Well, basically, everyone. He's talking about civil society, youth groups, NGOs, the traditional and religious leaders. He says they are the real first responders in a crisis. They're the ones on the ground, starting conversations, supporting victims, especially when the big institutions are failing.
And within that group, he puts a special spotlight on the role of women. He calls them tireless artisans of peace. He argues that what they bring to the table in education, in rebuilding society, is absolutely vital. And here's the kicker: because of that, their voices have to be heard, not just on the sidelines, but at the very highest levels where the big decisions are being made.
All right, so the final piece of this blueprint is all about the future. And his vision is focused squarely on one group: the next generation. It's really that simple. He just comes out and says it: the youth are the hope. All their energy, their creativity, that's not just the future of the country, it's the future of its entire moral fabric. But hope isn't just a feeling, right? It's not a passive strategy. So he lays out a very clear, very strategic plan. Step one, you have to admit that when young people have no opportunities, it directly leads to violence. So what's the solution? Invest. Invest big in education and training. Encourage them to become entrepreneurs. And most importantly, create a country where young people actually want to stay and build their future, instead of leaving, stopping what he calls that hemorrhage of talents. And really, when you boil it all down, it comes to this one core message. This is the ultimate goal of the whole thing. True development, it isn't just about economic numbers or big new buildings. It's about the growth of every single person as a whole human being. And so that leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. This whole speech, right? It was all about using moral authority, not political power. So it kind of forces us to ask ourselves, in a world that's so full of conflict, is it possible that a call to our better angels, a call for justice, for service, for empathy, could actually be a more powerful way to create change than all the military force and political games in the world? It's definitely something to think about.
Okay. Eric, I think you're
Yes.
muted. Thank you.
Yes. Can you hear me? Thanks, Elizabeth. Have you brought me on?
Yes, you're on.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much. And you heard what the Pope had to say there. It, raised all the issues that we're concerned about as a nation. Raised all the issues we're concerned about as a nation: peace, moral authority in the country, and trust, questions of justice, and so on. So that's what the Pope said. And I'm just going to invite my friend Leopold to introduce this in French. So, we try to establish the balance here. So please be patient as we move into the French language and kind of summarize what the Pope said. Leopold.
Okay.
Merci Eric. Bonjour à notre bien aimable audience. C'est une analyse stratégique du discours du Pape à Yaoundé qui, de notre point de vue, était très puissant puisque il fallait en avoir une autre lecture. Et donc, c'est ce que nous allons suivre tout de suite.
Okay. Perfect. Give me a second in French.
Sauf que je n'ai pas vu Léopold, mais bon, je crois qu'on aura ce discours en français dans un instant.
Oui,
Yes.
voilà, tout à
It's all
fait.
set.
Très bien.
Okay.
You ready? Okay.
We're ready to go.
Very good.
Great.
Et si la paix, c'était bien plus que juste l'absence de guerre, si c'était quelque chose de beaucoup plus profond? C'est vraiment la question qui est au cœur d'un discours super puissant du pape Léon XIV au Cameroun. Et aujourd'hui, eh bien, on va décortiquer ensemble ce message. C'est une vraie feuille de route pour la réconciliation, on va voir ça. Alors, imaginez un peu le décor. On est au palais présidentiel de Yaoundé. La date, 15 avril 2026. L'ambiance, elle est vraiment solennelle. Et attention, ce n'est pas juste une visite de plus. Non, non, c'est un vrai moment charnière pour l'avenir du Cameroun.
Do you have
Le pape, il est sur le point de dire des choses qui vont vraiment marquer les esprits. Alors, au programme aujourd'hui, pour décrypter ce discours, on va suivre sa pensée, pas à pas. D'abord, on va voir le pourquoi de sa visite. Ensuite, on plongera direct dans son appel à la justice. Après ça, on regardera les 3 grands piliers qu'il propose, le service du bien commun, la force de la société et l'immense espoir que représente la jeunesse. Et on terminera sur sa vision pour eh bien, construire l'avenir tous ensemble. Alors, c'est parti, première étape. La grande question, mais pourquoi cette visite? Bon, on s'en doute, le pape n'est pas venu en simple touriste. Dès le début, il pose un cadre très, très précis sur sa mission pour la paix au Cameroun. Et là, c'est un point absolument clé. Vous savez, le Cameroun, c'est cette Afrique en miniature, une diversité incroyable. Et là où beaucoup pourraient voir une source de division, eh bien, le pape, lui, il y voit un trésor. Pour lui, ce n'est pas du tout un obstacle à la paix. Au contraire, c'est carrément la matière première. C'est la fondation même sur laquelle on peut tout construire. Du coup, son rôle dans tout ça, ses propres mots sont hyper clairs. Il ne se présente pas du tout comme un chef d'État ou un politicien avec un plan déjà tout ficelé. Non, non. Il se positionne comme un serviteur, un facilitateur. Et ses seuls outils, vous savez ce que c'est? Le dialogue et la fraternité. C'est un message d'une humilité folle, en fait. Il est là pour servir la paix, pas pour venir l'imposer de l'extérieur. Bon, maintenant, on rentre dans le vif du sujet, dans le dur. Et là, le pape ne mâche pas ses mots, il ne fait aucune langue de bois. Il va droit au but et met le doigt sur une blessure vraiment profonde qui traverse le pays. Cette immense soif de justice. Et là, il pose une question toute simple en apparence, mais en réalité, elle est redoutable. Où en sommes-nous? En faisant ça, en rappelant les visites des papes précédents, il force en quelque sorte tout le monde à un examen de conscience. Est-ce qu'on a vraiment avancé? C'est une vraie pause dans son discours, un moment de vérité pour tout le monde. Et ce qui est puissant, c'est que le pape ne s'arrête pas à des chiffres froids, à des statistiques. Non, il met des mots très forts sur les souffrances humaines, très concrètes, causées par la violence. Il parle des vies perdues, des familles qui ont tout quitté, des enfants qui ne peuvent plus aller à l'école. Il parle d'un avenir incertain. L'impact, il est là, il est concret et il est absolument dévastateur. Ok, mais alors, de quelle paix est-ce qu'on parle exactement? Parce que le pape met bien en garde. Attention, la paix, ce n'est pas juste un slogan ou le simple fait que les armes se taisent. Ce qu'il propose, c'est une vision bien plus radicale, bien plus profonde. Il parle d'une paix qui est à la fois désarmée, c'est-à-dire qu'elle ne repose pas sur la force, et désarmante, c'est-à-dire qu'elle a le pouvoir de toucher les cœurs et de résoudre les conflits. L'idée, c'est vraiment de construire la confiance, pas de maintenir un semblant de paix par la peur. Et ça nous amène tout droit au premier des 3 grands piliers qu'il propose comme solution. Le premier, c'est le service du bien commun. Et là, son message s'adresse très, très directement à ceux qui sont au pouvoir, à ceux qui détiennent l'autorité. Et ce qu'il propose, c'est rien de moins qu'une révolution dans la manière de penser le mot « gouverner ». C'est fini, l'image du dirigeant lointain qui administre depuis sa tour d'ivoire. Pour le pape, gouverner, c'est avant tout aimer et servir. Et ça change absolument tout. Ça veut dire quoi? Ça veut dire qu'il faut écouter les gens, mais vraiment les écouter, et les considérer comme des partenaires essentiels pour trouver des solutions, pas juste comme des sujets qu'on doit gérer. Et pour enfoncer le clou, si on peut dire, il va chercher une citation de saint Augustin. Attention, elle a 1600 ans cette citation, mais écoutez bien comme elle est d'une modernité absolument folle. Il ne commande pas par soif de domination, mais par devoir de subvenir aux besoins. C'est limpide. Le pouvoir, ce n'est pas pour dominer, c'est pour servir. C'est un changement complet de paradigme. Là-dessus, le pape est on ne peut plus clair. Il ne peut pas y avoir de confiance, et donc il ne peut pas y avoir de paix sans intégrité. La lutte contre la corruption, ce n'est pas un petit sujet à côté. Non, c'est la condition essentielle, la condition sine qua non pour que l'autorité puisse retrouver sa crédibilité et pour qu'elle puisse vraiment, réellement servir le bien de tous. Bon, évidemment, les dirigeants ne peuvent pas tout faire tout seuls. Ce serait trop simple. Et c'est justement là qu'intervient le deuxième grand peuple, vers la société civile. Et son rôle, il est tout simplement indispensable. Pour décrire ça, le pape utilise une expression très très parlante, les forces vives de la nation. C'est une belle image, non? C'est un peu comme le sang qui circule et qui donne vie à un pays. Il parle bien sûr de la société civile, de toutes ces personnes qui, au quotidien, sur le terrain, sont les véritables moteurs du changement et de l'unité. Et attention, ce n'est pas du tout un concept vague ou abstrait. Au contraire, il est très précis. Il nomme ces acteurs de terrain, Les associations, les organisations de femmes, de jeunes, les syndicats, les ONG, les chefs traditionnels, les chefs religieux, ce sont eux, tous ces gens-là, qui, au jour le jour, tissent les liens, qui calment les tensions et qui finalement construisent la paix, en partant de la base. Et parmi ces forces vives, le pape accorde une place vraiment à part, une place toute particulière aux femmes. Il a cette expression magnifique, il les appelle les artisans infatigables de paix. Et il insiste vraiment là-dessus. Leur contribution, qui est inestimable, doit être reconnue. Et ça veut dire quoi? Ça veut dire que leur voix doit être entendue, et entendue pleinement dans tous les lieux où se prennent les décisions.
Alors, on a vu les dirigeants, on a vu la société civile. Vers qui on se tourne maintenant pour construire l'avenir? La réponse du pape, elle est limpide. Elle est claire comme de l'eau de roche. La jeunesse. C'est son troisième et dernier pilier. Et c'est peut-être finalement le plus important de tous.
Et ça, c'est fondamental dans son discours. Pour le pape, la jeunesse, ce n'est absolument pas un problème qu'il faudrait gérer. C'est tout le contraire. C'est la ressource la plus précieuse du pays. C'est leur énergie, leur créativité, leurs idées nouvelles. C'est ça le véritable capital sur lequel on peut et on doit bâtir le futur. Évidemment, l'espoir, c'est bien beau, mais ça ne suffit pas, il faut passer aux actes. Et la stratégie que propose le pape, elle est très concrète. Il dit que pour éviter que toute cette énergie formidable de la jeunesse ne se transforme en frustration, et puis après en violence ou en envie de partir, eh bien il faut investir. Investir massivement dans 3 domaines clés. 1, l'éducation. 2, la formation professionnelle. Et 3, encourager l'esprit d'entreprise. Et voilà, on arrive à la conclusion de son discours. Le pape va maintenant rassembler tous ces fils qu'on a vus, les dirigeants, le peuple, la jeunesse, pour tisser un message final qui est extrêmement puissant. La construction de l'avenir, c'est une responsabilité collective. Tout le monde est dans le même bateau.
Et au fond, quel est le but de tous ces efforts? C'est quoi le véritable gain à la fin de la journée? Pour le pape, la réponse est claire. Ce n'est pas le PIB, ce ne sont pas les richesses matérielles, ce n'est pas le pouvoir. Le vrai gain, c'est le développement humain intégral. C'est un concept super puissant qui veut dire, en gros, créer une société où chaque personne, absolument chaque personne sans exception, a la possibilité de grandir et de s'épanouir complètement.
Et ce qui est très fort, c'est que le pape ne termine pas son discours avec une réponse toute faite, une solution miracle. Non. Il termine avec une question ouverte, une question exigeante, qui est laissée à la méditation de chacun. Il ne dit pas qu'il faut oublier le passé, il dit qu'il faut le transformer. C'est un défi incroyable qu'il lance à chaque citoyen. Comment on fait pour que les blessures, les cicatrices de l'histoire deviennent le terreau fertile d'un avenir de paix et de justice? Et cette question, franchement, elle résonne bien au-delà des seules frontières du Cameroun.
Eric,
Eric,
I
you have
think you're
to.
muted.
Oh, gee, I keep forgetting. Yeah, okay. Thank you. I was just saying that, we're going to open this up for a real discussion on the visit. So before we close it up, we want to hear from others. I see folks like Emmanuel Tem, Kenneth Nder, and Richard Emeni, and Pastor Elad. And others, we'll call upon them to just give us a sense of what their take is on this visit by the Pope. And we'll do it in French and English. And my friend and brother, Leopold, will also invite others to say something. Leopold, did you want to react? Puisqu'on vient de parler en français, je te passe la parole.
Non, Eric, c'était tellement fort. Une telle analyse nous interpelle. Et comment ne pas noter que le pape s'adressait effectivement aux principaux concernés, c'est-à-dire que les dirigeants. Et le pape a à plusieurs reprises fait appel à la société civile. Ce n'est pas un hasard. C'est aussi en même temps un clin d'œil à nos hommes politiques qui devraient être un tout petit peu plus humbles et comprendre que c'est un travail collectif et que, bon, la visibilité peut être importante, mais ce n'est pas essentiel. C'est-à-dire que nous sommes interpellés sur des choses que nous connaissions, mais dites de cette manière par le pape, sans langue de bois, comme on dit, c'est extrêmement puissant et puis nous devons vraiment méditer dessus. Et surtout, après le départ du pape, rappeler nos dirigeants chaque fois que vous vous souvenez de ce que le pape a dit. Hein, c'est-à-dire que, voilà, c'est interpellé. Nous avons pu voir l'humilité avec laquelle certains de nos dirigeants se comportaient aux côtés du pape. Nous souhaitons que cela puisse durer.
Absolutely. Leopold, I think it's important to emphasize that the message was delivered to all Cameroonians, but most specifically to the leadership of the country. And the question to them, as to the rest of us, is, are we listening? Did we hear him? And what actions are we going to take going forward? You know, the folks like me and others who were opposed to the Pope coming to Cameroon, we didn't think he should endorse the situation. Coming to Cameroon would have felt like those, you know, were endorsing the situation in Cameroon. But we're happy he came. We're happy it went well. And let me say this, you know, in praise to Archbishop Nkea, who was obviously one of the forces behind this, and as you must have seen, to Minister Atanganji, who all played a significant role in ensuring that the Pope came to Cameroon, and that trip went well. What the question now is, what happens? The value of the trip to Cameroon has to be in what happens going forward. Are they going to release prisoners? Are they going to work for peace in the country? Are they going to work to share, you know, the resources of this country so that every Cameroonian can feel a part of it? Now, we're going to have these discussions come on. I see Are is here. Maybe it's Leopold. I'll get back to you, but let's have Are say something quickly, and then we bring in Mimi Mefo, and then also bring in the others who may want to speak. But let's start with Are and then go to you, Leopold, to kind of summarize this in French, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eric, for giving me the opportunity to be part of this conversation, and you know, to again thank everybody for joining us for another Saturday. I happen to not be in my base, so we're juggling things here, but it's incredibly important to show up and be part of the conversations for our country. And I know we've been consumed this week by the visit of the Pope to our country, and we've seen Cameroon come onto the global stage for hosting the Pope in Cameroon. And as we have analyzed his message as speaking to Cameroonians, that same message is also being transmitted to global leaders. Here in the United States, with speaking directly to the President of the United States, but you can see from the Pope's choice of words that he's truly a messenger of peace and has taken upon that mission. And yes, saying that we had written to the Pope to reconsider his visit to Cameroon, because he has effectively been the first leader of a country to visit with Paul Biya after the stolen elections that took place in Cameroon. He also visited not just as a head of state, but head of the Catholic Church, which is one of the biggest Christian church in the world, and visited as a global leader more than just the Catholics. We recognize his position as a leader in the world. And, with all the analysis and all the things, I say, like everybody else, I would have hoped that the Pope coming to Cameroon will at least trigger something in the hearts and minds of the leaders of our country, that President Paul Biya will shake the hands of the Pope, conscious deep down him that he is not the true representative of the Cameroonian people, conscious that their children and women languishing in jail that are not supposed to be there, that there is injustice, that his shoulders are burdened with injustice, and yet shakes the hand of the blessed pontiff and goes to sleep without it being an issue for him. That should tell Cameroonians who has been leading this country and how deep-rooted wickedness lies inside him. And this, to me, is something that we really must come to terms with, that the President Paul Biya is not the one who would provide solutions for Cameroon, that it is Cameroonians. And I think the Pope was clear about that, that it lies in the hands of the civil society. So let us not be fooled that the president he will not. Under normal circumstances, you would have seen him perform a kind gesture, release the 2,500 people who are in jail, the thousands of political prisoners that are in jail, the Nara 10 people who were arrested, release them, because there's no reason why they are sitting in jail. If you want peace, you have to also manifest the intention of having peace. But that didn't happen.
Yeah.
The one thing as well that struck me is that at a time where our country cannot host elections, municipal elections, or regional elections because we do not have money, I was struck by the fact that the president of Cameroon offered to the Pope a golden cross that we know was made up of 1.5 kilograms of gold. My analysis is that 1.5 kilograms of gold in the global marketplace cost about $235 million. $235 million is approximately 167 billion francs CFA. This is money which I'm made to understand could build 25 schools across our country. 25 schools that would provide opportunities for the next generation of Cameroonians. And yet, I don't think that the Pope asked for that amount of money, but it also tells you where priorities lie in our country. That if we could just sell 10 kilograms of gold and be transparent in the process, we can solve problems in our hospitals, in our schools. We could create opportunities for Cameroonians, start up small, help farmers and all of those things. But you need the political will. And that is the message that the Pope was saying, that if you are there to serve the people, you have to make the right decisions to serve the people and not serve yourself. And this is the heartbreaking side of the Pope's visit. Absolutely, we appreciate the fact that the Pope came to Cameroon, and hopefully after his departure, we would see hearts and minds being changed. But we must not rest.
No, thanks, Ari. You know, a lot of the folks who call me after these programs, they always say, I didn't hear Elizabeth, I didn't hear Ari, you know, or so I'm so glad you two are here and satisfy your fans who are all over the place. And of course, you know, Ari says it the way it should be said. So thanks again.
And I want to react to that before we go to Leopold.
Sure.
Please,
okay.
If I can, because I was so triggered yesterday as we had a meeting, and when Ari was talking about these figures of over 100 billion translating to over 25 schools, I just really
let me just clarify the amount. It's $235,000, which is 167 million.
Yes. 167 million. That's what I thought.
Million.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 167 million.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that just stops everything. That stops everything. And I think that we should really sit down and think about this, because I believe, and I'm taking responsibility, that our president is a reflection of the people. Even with dictators, it is a reflection of our consciousness. And so it's not saying that we support him. I want us to think about this, because what I'm trying to say is that we are responsible for this guy, and we are responsible to make the change that we have. So when you have somebody who is called a leader, it reflects our consciousness, whether we're awake or we're not. And I would choose to say that maybe we were deceived in the past, but we have not been aware of how the country is run, the wealth of our country. And that's what is leading to this, because everything stops at this. I mean, look at how many schools can be built. And then look at what's happening. And the least person who needs that is the president of Vatican. I mean, the Pope, he needs that. He doesn't. He has all the gold in the world. But I also just wanted to add to what, in what Ari said, because it moved me so much, is, maybe further as the discussion continues, and these are the questions we want to ponder, is, what is your disappointment? What is it that you wanted from this situation that has not happened? Because I think we should talk about it. And where do you find value in this visit with the Pope? Where do we find value in it? Eric, I would not give any credit to a Tanganji. It's as simple as dice. The Pope will come to Cameroon and go without a Tanganji. I would not. This guy would not get credit for nothing. He will go down, never getting credit for anything. I say that because, yes, of course. But I will go back to the bishop, because I do think that, and I was one who was really opposed to it. And I think that the opposition played a good role, because him coming, even with all the different communications he'd gotten not to be there, shows that he knew. I saw this last night. I've been watching so many things. He knew that the significance of him being there and what he was going to say, the role can shine light on Cameroon. And I must say, Bamenda. So, in all sense and purposes, I think it's just a real good thing, but there's a lot that's in here, and I'm happy we're going to be breaking that down today. So I think I'm going to pass it on to Leopold. Eric.
Yeah, thanks. Before Leopold takes it over, I just want to say this again, we are thankful, because at the end of the day, I think it's a good thing the Pope came to Cameroon at the end of the day. And, in whatever capacity these 2 or 3 people, and I'm thinking of, again, Atanganji, that you rightly say, have put a lot of things in context, but Archbishop Nkea and the Prime Minister, John Gute, they all kind of played roles that they should play. And the trip itself, the Pope leaves Cameroon with a sense of having accomplished something. He's delivered a message to those for whom, to whom the rest of Cameroon were unable to deliver the message. He's delivered that message. Now the question is, did they hear it? Are they going to act? Are we going to hear in the coming days the release of prisoners? Are we going to keep Yaoundé clean and Douala clean and Bamenda clean and the rest of the country? There's just so much to take out of this speech. But before we get carried away by all of this, Léopold, je crois que tu as des choses à dire à nos frères et sœurs, et puis on va inviter à toi de le faire, inviter Mimi Mefo.
Oui, tout à fait, Eric. C'était tout à fait remarquable ce qu'Ari a rappelé. Il a dit qu'il n'est pas dans sa base, et on note qu'il a réapporté une tenue de circonstance. Merci, Ari. Pour la solennité avec laquelle...
Ouais. Avec et à New York, hein?
Il faut dire que du message du pape, vraiment, quand on pense à la transition qu'il faut, c'est-à-dire partir vers une politique vraiment inclusive, intégrale, ça veut dire qu'en fait, il s'agit de partir de la politique, d'une politique envers le peuple, vers une politique avec le peuple. Ce qui suppose qu'il faut rebâtir la confiance. Et puis, quand on parle de l'état de droit et autres, c'est que vraiment, il faudrait restaurer cette confiance et mettre fin à l'arbitraire. Comment ne pas être sensible à briser la chaîne de la corruption? Nous savons que cela nous affecte. Mais le premier signal que nous devions attendre de nos dirigeants pour montrer quand même qu'ils ont écouté, qu'ils n'ont pas été autistes, c'est de commencer à libérer les prisonniers. C'est de commencer à libérer des prisonniers. Beaucoup sont là, ils ne savent pas pourquoi ils sont là. Après la crise post-électorale, des gens sont en prison pour avoir simplement protesté. Or, le pape demande le développement humain intégral. Ça veut dire quoi? Ça veut dire que vraiment, tout le monde doit pouvoir être écouté et participer à la reconstruction de ce pays. Et puis, Elisabeth, tu n'accordes aucun crédit à M. Atanganji, je comprends très très bien, mais vous savez, Et si M. Atanganji démontrait qu'il est le premier à avoir été touché par le discours du pape, que dirions-nous? Voilà un peu ce que je voulais dire.
I will give him all the praise. I will.
Okay.
I will.
Enfin, lui et d'autres, parce que, en fin de compte, quand on rencontre beaucoup de ces dirigeants-là en privé, hors de leur contexte, on se rend compte que ce sont des humains extrêmement fragiles, au-delà de toutes les apparences. Donc, l'empathie, c'est quelque chose que nous devons cultiver dans notre pays parce que personne ne peut prétendre avoir la solution intégrale. Et puis, quand on demande d'aller vers l'unité nationale et de mettre un terme aux intérêts partisans, si à travers ces actes de gabegie, de corruption, l'or dont tu as parlé, Harry, ce que cela pourrait permettre de faire, si chacun de nos responsables, à partir de leur fortune, décidait simplement de rebâtir leur propre village d'origine. Je dis le village, pas uniquement leur maison à eux. Le village. Est-ce qu'on peut imaginer l'effet d'entraînement et la fixation, la sédentarisation de la jeunesse et autres dans les localités respectives? Je veux dire, c'est des questions de bon sens. Voilà un peu. Donc, en tout cas, c'est ce que je pouvais déjà dire à Eric.
It's a boatload.
Ouais, merci. Je crois que maintenant, on veut écouter d'autres personnes, d'autres voix sur cette visite, en commençant par notre sœur Mimi Mefo, mais d'autres personnes qui sont là aujourd'hui. Je vois Esther, je vois Delphine, ainsi de suite. On va les appeler pour donner leur réaction à la visite du pape. So, maybe Mimi.
Okay. And second.
After Pope Leo XIV's speech today in front of President Paul Biya, his government, civil society actors, and many Cameroonians have been wondering what he said exactly. I would have loved to read the full speech here, but I'll try my best to read segments of it and then analyze it. Now, the Pope began by gently, almost diplomatically praising Cameroon's diversity. Let me quote him. "It is with deep joy that I find myself in Cameroon, often described as Africa in miniature, because of the richness of its lands, cultures, languages, and tradition. This variety is not a weakness, but a treasure. It constitutes a promise of fraternity and a solid foundation for building lasting peace." Now, once you define diversity as a strength, like the Pope said, you remove the justification for exclusion. You remove the excuse that differences naturally lead to conflict. You are saying this country already has what it takes for people to live in unity. But is that the case? And that is where the speech quietly begins to shift. Let me quote him again. "Today, like many other nations, your country is facing complex difficulties, the tensions and the violence that have afflicted certain regions of the Northwest, Southwest, and Far North regions have caused profound suffering. Lives have been lost, families displaced, children deprived of schooling, and young people no longer see a future." End of quote. From there, he moves directly to the reality of the Northwest, Southwest, and the Far North. The Pope does not hide behind security or diplomatic language. He does not even reduce the crisis to statistics. He brings it back to the people. For years, the Anglophone crisis has often been treated as something to manage, a security issue, a political problem. But here, according to what the Pope was saying, it is presented as a human tragedy that demands accountability. Let me quote him again. "Behind the numbers are the faces, stories, shattered hopes of real people." End of quote. That line strips away the distance that has been created to make it look like the Anglophone crisis or the Boko Haram war are something removed from the people or from the reality of Cameroon. Because once suffering is humanized, it becomes harder to ignore, harder to justify, and even harder to reduce to policy language. And here is another quote from the Pope. "Those who rule serve those whom they seem to command, for they rule not from a love of power, but from a sense of duty they owe to others." End of quote. This is where the speech becomes deeply political. Now, the Pope is redefining leadership as service rather than control and authority when he is saying that. And in Cameroon's context, that raises uncomfortable questions, right? If leadership is service, are the people in the Northwest and the Southwest regions being served? Are communities that have lived through nearly a decade of conflict being listened to? Can a government claim to pursue peace while its president has not even visited those regions that are in conflict? He only visits the far north region to get votes during campaigns. Now, the Pope does not ask these questions directly, but he leaves them hanging, which brings us to another quote. Peace cannot be reduced to slogan. It must be embodied in a way of life that renounces all forms of violence, both personally and institutionally, end of quote. This is one of the most direct challenges in the speech. For years, peace has been presented as a message in Cameroon, something, declared, repeated, something that is announced. But here the Pope is rejecting that whole idea completely. He says that peace is not something that you say, it is something that people must experience, and that exposes a gap. Because if peace must be lived, then people must feel safe, heard, and included. And in parts of Cameroon today, especially in the Anglophone regions and other parts of the country, that is not the reality many people are describing. In the Pope's own words, let me quote him again: "The world is thirsty for peace, enough of a war with all the pain it causes through death, destruction, and exile." End of quote. When he speaks about war, he includes exile, and that really matters because exile is not theoretical in Cameroon, it is actually lived. We have seen activists, politicians, citizens, journalists forced out of the country, sometimes for speaking, sometimes for contesting power. Figures like Issa Shoma Bakari, political figure, is now in exile after challenging an election outcome. So when the Pope is speaking about exile, he's actually speaking into a context that Cameroonians recognize immediately, what they see on a daily basis. Now, to govern, I'm quoting the Pope again, means truly learning to listening to citizens, valuing their intelligence and their ability to help build lasting solutions to problems. End of quote. Again, this sounds simple, but it is really not, because one of the lasting or long-lasting criticisms in Cameroon is exactly this: failure to listen, failure to engage, and failure to respond before crises escalate. This line challenges that entire history. And here is the next punch from the pontiff. Oh, let me quote him again. "In order for peace and justice to prevail, the chain of corruption which disfigure authority and strip it from its credibility must be broken." End of quote. And this is why the Pope turns to governance. And this connects directly to everyday frustration, unpaid salaries, lack of transparency, uneven development, institutions that people struggle to trust. Corruption is not abstract. It is something that Cameroonians live. They can see that every day. In fact, several members of the government are currently in detention because of corruption. Let me quote the Pope again. "Young people represent the hope of the country. When unemployment and social exclusion persist, frustration can lead to violence." End of quote. And here he's simply identifying one of the root causes of instability in Cameroon. When young people are excluded from jobs, from opportunities, from participation, they do not remain neutral. They disengage and they leave and they start resisting. Cameroon has seen all three, and this brings us back to the central reaction. People are saying we need action. They are tired of words. They are right, of course, but the Pope does not command governments. He does not pass laws. He does not deploy forces. What he does is shape the moral ground on which power stands, and today he has done just that very significantly. He has defined what peace actually means. He has defined what leadership should look like. even went political, beyond spiritual, and he's defined what justice requires. And once those definitions are out in the public space, they begin to work. So wherever you're watching from, what do you think about the speech of the Pope? In the hours ahead, you'll be in the northwest region of Cameroon and then to the Littoral region. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, Mimi. Great opening of that discussion into the opening of the discussion into the speech of the Pope, and we want to bring in others to comment on this, to give us their take on it. I think we should do it let's start off in French, Leopold, with I know there's Junior Abena who's in the audience. He may want to address it, and there's Vincent de Paul from I think in
Scandinavia or something like that.
Scandinavia or somewhere there. So why don't we have that discussion in
also
French?
Benjamin Gonga as well.
In English, like Pastor and the others. Okay, over to you, Leopold.
Ouais. Merci Eric. Celui qui est prêt, parce que si Vincent de Paul ou Junior, nous avons aussi noté la présence de Benjamin Gongan. Celui qui est prêt vraiment à intervenir, qu'il se manifeste tout simplement.
Elizabeth, do you see them? Junior Abena, for example?
Yes.
And we also have Vincent de Paul and Benjamin. Okay.
Okay. I think we're going to start with who I see. Yeah. Junior? Okay, very good. Yes. And I don't know if you can come on camera or not, but which is okay, go right ahead.
Thank you very much to be part of this session of Project C. So let me try to say in French. Bon, je dis bonjour à tous ceux qui sont avec nous dans le forum, et puis c'est un plaisir de partager ces petites interviews. Ça fait 2 semaines qu'on a eu de presse, parce que je suis très surchargé par la campagne que nous avons lancée depuis la semaine dernière, la campagne de paix et de réconciliation. À l'occasion de la visite du pape, nous avons donc mis en place, nous avons lancé une pétition qui a connu un très grand succès, plus de 70% d'adhésion, parce que nous avons misé sur 1 million. Nous avons eu presque plus de 600 000 personnes qui ont signé la pétition. C'est un grand succès. Et la pétition donc concernait, nous avons sollicité le peuple camerounais à signer cette pétition pour que nous dressions donc un mémorandum au pape afin de libérer les prisonniers politiques, ceux qui sont en détention depuis les différentes crises que nous avons, la crise du Nozo, la crise après 2018 et la crise après la présidentielle 2025. Donc c'était un peu ça. Depuis quelques jours, nous étions tellement focus là-dessus parce qu'il fallait communiquer davantage, il fallait faire un marquage de communication à travers les médias. Et comme le pape était sur place, donc il fallait absolument que nous fassions un écho, que cela ait un écho et que ça puisse également toucher, toucher également la sensibilité de nos pouvoirs publics. Nous avons a donc transmis également au pape. Donc, nous pensons donc que le pape et puis exactement on fait part. Il y a des conditions de plus, hein, parce que nous avons été très surpris des propos du pape, que ce soit c'est tout, les deux gens qu'il a fait. Oui,
Junior, Junior,
oui.
La ligne est très mauvaise. Ça se coupe. Peut-être il faut
Je vais
déconnecter
bouger
avec,
un peu.
ou bien bouger un peu. Mais ce que
Je ne sais
tu
pas si là,
dis,
ça va.
ça va mieux, ça va mieux.
D'accord. Donc, je disais que nous avons beaucoup apprécié le message du pape, les différents messages qu'il a adressés, que ce soit à Yaoundé, que ce soit à Bamenda, que ce soit à Douala, et même tout à l'heure encore, où il a dit de ne pas avoir peur. Et vous savez, le pape a dit des choses qui nous ont beaucoup révélé, qui ont même révélé exactement le contenu que l'EPC 2025 avait mis sur pied, c'est-à-dire que notre programme de transition, de refondation, où on parlait des assises, de la réconciliation, on parlait du grand pardon. Donc tout ça est dedans. C'est-à-dire que M. Thierry a signé cette charte et c'est pour ça que le peuple camerounais s'est reconnu dans cette charte. Et quand il parle de vérité, dites la vérité et la vérité va vous affranchir. Le peuple camerounais est allé dans la rue pour revendiquer la vérité des urnes. C'est cette vérité des urnes qui a conduit aux arrestations et même à la mort du leader. Tout ce qu'il a dit, même à Douala où il a parlé le miracle de Jésus, là, il disait que les pains et les 5 poissons qu'il fallait multiplier, qu'il fallait donner à manger au peuple qui avait faim, qui avait soif. Et que ce n'est pas une histoire de diviser, mais c'est une histoire de multiplier parce que ceux qui ont doivent partager. Mais quand on voit toute la prédation que ces gens-là font depuis des années, les accaparements des terres, la prédation de la fortune publique, et ils ne partagent pas, ils ne donnent même pas, c'est-à-dire qu'ils ne redonnent même pas au peuple un peu pour que le peuple aussi puisse bénéficier des fruits de la croissance ou le fruit seulement de ce que nous avons comme notre potentiel, nos potentialités, ressources naturelles, ressources minières et tout. C'est tout ça qui crée le désordre que nous voyons là, ce malaise-là, dont le pape n'a dit que ce que nous disons depuis. Tous les Camerounais sont reconnus dans ce discours qui n'était pas tendre avec le régime. Maintenant, il faut que ce régime fasse son nez à culpa, essaie de faire un agendement et revenir un peu au meilleur sentiment. Parce qu'ils étaient tous témoins, ils étaient tous là. Le président de la République était là, tout le monde était là, les ministres et tout. Maintenant, la paix ne se décrète pas. La paix, c'est une construction dans un consensus. Et ce consensus-là, c'est les compromis, le minimum de compromis qu'on peut dire, ce qu'on appelle le compromis social. Il n'y a pas le compromis social, on ne peut pas avancer. Parce que les jeunes partent. Le pape a évoqué l'aspect de l'éducation, l'aspect du chômage. Il a parlé de la pauvreté, il a parlé de pourquoi vous savez, il allait à l'université catholique de l'Afrique centrale. Il a dit que nous ne vous formons pas pour que vous allez à l'étranger. C'est pour construire votre pays. Quand on vous donne tout ce bagage intellectuel, toute cette qualité de la formation que nous avons ici, c'est pour construire votre pays, ce n'est pas pour partir. Donc la fuite des cerveaux, vraiment, ça pose un problème pour l'avenir d'un pays, d'une nation qui est en construction. Comment on va construire et bâtir un pays avec des cerveaux qui vont plutôt construire ailleurs, au lieu de bâtir une nation, une jeune nation comme le Cameroun qui est en construction. Donc, le discours du pape.
Oui. Merci beaucoup, Julien. Sans vouloir vous couper, mais j'aurais voulu qu'on ait une perspective qui vienne d'ailleurs, qui vienne hors du pays, hein, de quelqu'un qui est dans la diaspora. Donc, on a eu, quand tu es là, j'aimerais qu'on entende quelqu'un qui est hors du pays.
Il y a Vincent Paul qui dit qu'il est dans un endroit bruyant, il ne peut pas intervenir. Celui qui est dans les pays nordiques, le journaliste là-bas. Probablement Benjamin, si Benjamin est disponible. Benjamin Gongan.
Yes, bonsoir. Oui, je pense que
bonsoir,
je peux prendre le relais. Try to launch my camera also. Bon, bonsoir à tous. C'est un sujet qui nous a tellement animés que j'espérais ne plus avoir à parler de ce pape. But here we are again. Bon, il s'est envolé il y a quelques minutes. Ça va libérer les routes au moins. On va pouvoir circuler. Ça a été une catastrophe pour se déplacer ces derniers jours. Euh, Moi, je ne crois pas que ce régime va beaucoup entendre les messages du pape. J'étais surpris même qu'il ait été aussi direct sur certains aspects de son discours. Mais je ne crois pas qu'ils vont entendre parce que les mêmes qui étaient assis devant lui, là, ils vont tous les jours, tous les dimanches au moins à la messe ou au temple. Donc, ils écoutent toujours ce que disent les prêtres et les évêques et même les imams pour les autres. Mais ça ne les a pas beaucoup donné envie d'entendre ce que veut le peuple, de travailler pour ce peuple-là. Ça a été un moment assez révélateur de la façon dont ce régime fonctionne, c'est-à-dire toujours se mettre dans des habits, les apparats, ou en tout cas faire semblant. On a voulu faire semblant que le Cameroun fonctionnait bien. Je vous assure que les routes étaient balayées toutes les 10 minutes. En tout cas, la route par laquelle le pape devait passer. À Japoma, autour de Japoma, on a balayé les routes toutes les 5 minutes. La route ici, là, qui partait de l'aéroport là jusqu'à l'Annonciature où il dormait à Yaoundé, c'était on a repeint, voilà, c'était propre. Et j'ai envie de dire, en faisant ça, on est en train d'expliquer au peuple que, en fait, vous ne comptez même pas pour grand-chose. Si les dirigeants, en tout cas ceux qui sont censés gouverner pour nous, n'accordent pas même les 10% de l'intérêt qu'ils ont accordé à la venue du pape pour la vie courante, c'est vraiment que nous comptons pour rien. On est allé casser des commerçants au marché Mokolo, dans d'autres endroits, parce qu'il fallait que la voie soit dégagée. Euh, Bien sûr, sans s'intéresser à comment ils vont être relocalisés, sans préparer, alors même qu'on sait depuis longtemps que ce peuple va arriver. Donc, ce régime a poussé très loin son mépris, finalement, pour la population. Mais moi, j'espère surtout que c'est les autres qui ont entendu le discours du pape, les chrétiens, hein, ceux qui considèrent qu'il est une autorité morale, eux doivent entendre ce discours-là. Et c'est à eux de dire, si même le pape dit ça, alors on ne peut plus continuer de fonctionner avec ce régime. Moi, c'est là l'espoir que j'ai. Parce que c'est, y compris dans la communauté chrétienne, qu'on doit avoir des gens qui disent non, même des militants du RDPC qui disent non, on ne peut pas fonctionner avec des gens qui nous méprisent autant. Il ne faut pas espérer que n'importe quel discours, n'importe quelle posture du pape va faire changer le président Paul Biya. Je veux dire, enfin, c'est un grand-père. Tout le monde a vu son accueil au palais présidentiel. Qu'est-ce que vous voulez que il arrive à changer dans sa vie d'aujourd'hui là? Il n'a pas réussi à accueillir le pape à l'aéroport. Pourquoi vous voulez qu'il commence à réfléchir, à changer sa façon de penser demain? There's no way. Donc, c'est nous, c'est la population là, qui devons trouver dans nous, le courage de dire vraiment, ça ne va pas, ça ne va pas. On ne peut pas continuer comme ça. Si on n'accepte pas ça, on va continuer d'avancer. Et ceux-là qui sont en face, qui nous mettent dans cette situation, eux vont continuer de continuer à être les mauvais qu'ils sont parce qu'ils se disent, mais en fait, donc je peux même les mépriser comme ça et il ne se passe rien. Je peux les mépriser, il ne se passe rien. Quelques heures avant l'arrivée du pape, mardi soir, on a passé en catimini la promulgation de la loi qui modifie la Constitution. Et j'imagine que là, quelques jours après son départ, on va nous annoncer finalement le nom du nouveau vice-président qui a été défini comme ça, rapidement, sans grand débat. C'est vraiment, en fait, votre avis ne compte pas. On fait ce qu'on veut. Et s'il n'y a pas de réponse en face, they will keep doing the same bullshit. On doit, il faut que les Camerounais chrétiens qui ont couru là pour aller à Japoma, qui ont allé à la base aérienne de Yaoundé, qui sont allés à Bamenda, qui comprennent ce discours-là et qui disent, yes, si le pape lui-même dit ça, que la corruption, c'est pas bien, que ceux qui gouvernent, ceux qui dirigent, j'ai aimé ceux qui dirigent ou ceux qui gouvernent sont au service de ceux qu'ils pensent diriger. Vous pensez seulement les diriger. Parce que le jour où ce peuple se réveille là, c'est tout un peuple contre une dizaine de personnes. Hein. Je ne crois pas que le match va être serré très longtemps. Il faut que les chrétiens et tous ceux qui ont accordé un intérêt particulier à l'autorité morale de ce pape disent que lui, son message, on doit l'implémenter dans notre vie. Et ça commence donc par dire non, ou en tout cas à se retourner vers ceux qui sont en train de diriger là, pour leur dire que assez, enough is enough. Donc, moi, je n'ai pas beaucoup attendu grand-chose de cette visite-là. J'espère que ceux qui attendaient y ont trouvé peut-être le message ou le déclencheur qu'il fallait pour s'engager. C'est beaucoup de distractions. J'ai peur qu'après cette distraction, on va passer à une autre distraction où on va nous parler de la fête du 20 mai, qui n'est même plus la fête de l'unité, mais la fête du défilé. Et on va repasser comme ça de distraction en distraction. Concentrons-nous, restons concentrés. Let's remain focused. On a un problème à gérer. Ce pays ne va pas. Qu'est-ce qu'on fait? We really have to do something.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Benjamin. Oui, Léopold, vas-y. Hein,
Non. C'était juste pour vraiment remercier Benjamin pour ça. Mais en fait, le pape ne s'adressait pas qu'aux catholiques, hein, qu'aux chrétiens. Hein. Il s'adressait à tout le monde.
Oui, j'ai dit tous ceux qui ont trouvé un message.
Voilà, parce que quand il interpelle la société civile, c'est tout le monde.
C'est vrai.
Voilà. Absolument. Absolument. On va donc... avant de changer, on va changer de sujet à un moment donné, parce qu'on a beaucoup parlé du pape, mais j'aimerais quand même entendre un certain nombre de personnes en anglais. En commençant par le pasteur Elad Tuanuka qui est en Allemagne. Reverend Elad, if you're there, we would like to hear your take on, I know you're in Germany, in Berlin, we would like to hear your take on the Pope's visit to Cameroon. If you turn on your microphone, we'll see you. Elizabeth will see you.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Yeah. Hello.
Okay, very good. We can hear you. Oh,
hello.
Well,
yes.
Let's go ahead and put you in.
That's Kiwanuka.
Yes, Pastor Ella. Yes. Yeah, Rev, we can hear you and see you with your beard.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
sir.
We can hear and see you.
Oh, okay, good. No, that's fine. That's good. Yeah. Well, I've been in the discussions. I've actually been following up, and what should I say? Because this whole idea of Cameroon and what's going on and the Pope and everything. My thoughts and where I stand is like very radical. I take another, what Germans will say is like, I take another Schienen. And the Schienen is like, I'm taking another rail. So I'm standing somewhere else. Because I've come to realize what is happening. And the problem is that I realize that in the Cameroonian situation, people really don't listen to themselves and ask themselves the question, what am I doing for Cameroon and not what Cameroon is doing for me? And I believe that what we should do most often than not is what are we doing for that country? And that is where we all have failed, and failed big time. Because we have made this error of wanting to put the problem and wanting to think that the problem is somebody sitting at the helm of power. And we forget, because now we're saying the Pope said, the Pope said, the Pope said. Yes, and the Pope said that the people ruling are the ones that are supposed to serve and not to be served. So who has the power? It is us. At one time, I listened to Metro Alison come, and she said something, that the people ruling the country is us and not them. So who has the power? It's us and not them. And so when I sit today and I listen to a whole lot of things like, this is Project C, and Project C has been online for since the presidential election, every Saturday online and all that. And this narrative always comes up that Chiruma won the elections. And I'm like, no, he didn't. It is allegedly. He didn't. Nobody has come up with a blueprint to show us that Chiruma won anything. It's a fact. And this lies and continuous lie is not going to help this country. The truth is, we should be able to rise up as one man and change the system. We don't expect a pope to come and tell us what to do. Because I will tell you people something. I am somebody that grew up in the Catholic tradition. And I know exactly the way these people operate. And the Roman Catholic Church is the way it is. Okay, now we say they gave the Pope a golden cross. Why did he not refuse it? Why didn't he say that, take this cross and go melt this gold and sell it and build schools? Why did he take it along with him? If he too is, I mean, let's get it straight, because if I am in the position of the Pope, I wouldn't take the cross. I would say no. And as a preacher man, as a man of God, I would say no. We can't do this, because this is now the level of the corruption. Where am I going to with this? I want us to go back into our consciences and start thinking. Because the last speaker said something which I find very, very exciting. He said, what should we now do to save Cameroon? This is a very major question. Because we can sit here and be talking and talk and talk and nothing will happen. I've listened to everybody, Mimi Memfo, all of them. I mean, we started this conversation with an AI-generated message, which for me, it's nothing. Really, we're wasting time. We're wasting time. We should get into Cameroon and get politically active and change the system. That's the only way it works. It's the only way it works. We can pray from now till tomorrow. I prayed for that country for 2 years, like every day, and I stopped. Because I realized that those words you are lifting up doesn't do anything until you go into the system and become active. And like all of us now sitting in this channel and talking, I want to challenge everyone that is here with me today. How many of us hold a Cameroonian passport? How many? I've been in this country for 28. I've been in this country for 28 years. I have a Cameroonian passport. I've never wanted a German passport. I don't want it because I came to realize that in order to get, I'm talking. In order to get, can I?
Reverend, we can hear you.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that I've been in this country for 28 years and I hold a Cameroonian passport. Because I discovered that in order for me to get a German passport, I need to give away my Cameroonian passport. And I can't do that because I am Cameroonian, like to the core. I eat achu with my hands, I eat arrow. I mean, that's who I am. And then, you know, I was in Cameroon like 4 or 5 months ago. And to face facts, I've realized that the problem is not the people sitting at the helm of power. It is us Cameroonians. Like, for instance, we say the streets, somebody says they were cleaning the streets because the Pope was coming. Yes, there's a guy in Boya, Sparkoli, cleaning the streets, cleaning the gutters, taking the plastics out of the gutters because he thinks that this is my society. Boya is my town. I'm going to do something. This is what we should be going out for.
Well, thank you.
The people we voted into office, what did they do for us?
Yeah.
They did nothing. They did nothing for us. And so this is the time. I believe it 100%. And I love what Project C is doing, because at least somebody has gotten up and said that Cameroonians should wake up from slumber. Project C is doing something. And I will never undermine what you people are doing. I've been listening in, I've been following, and I know that there is a desire to turn things around. So now is the time to say, how do we turn it around? And if my senior brother Eric is honest to me, I've been talking to you always, and I've told you, the solution of Cameroon is not Chiruma, because he will never, and I said in capital letters, he will never be president in that country. Never.
Well,
and the truth is this. No, the truth is this. Let me learn. I'm talking because you guys will quote me one day. I'm talking. He will never be president in that country.
Okay.
When how do you call the other one Kamto was President Eliu, you know what he told Kamto. And that is why it is coming back to him. And nobody is seeing that. And Bate Bishop, one of the greatest poets and writers that has ever come out of the South, the Anglophone extraction in that country, he said Cameroonians have one problem. We forget too easily. That is our problem. We forget too easily. Cameroonians don't remember. When something happens, we forget. And if we keep forgetting, we are not getting anywhere and we are not moving anywhere. And I will settle on this because we all love Cameroon. You guys do what you're doing. Eric, my brother Are, I love the glasses though, I must say. Yeah, the glasses look good on you, you know. And, you know.
Pastor, just pray for me, pray for us.
No,
And he's also giving prophecies.
No, I'm not giving prophecies. I'm telling us what we are doing, and I actually congratulate us for doing what we are doing.
Yes.
Because people like Eric, Are, all of you have been saying great things and wonderful things. That my only hope is that do people listen? Because I think that the whole idea of Project C is that, you know, Cameroonians should be educated. Cameroonians should come to a place of realization to note that the power is in their hands. And who has to change anything is us. And if we don't do that, nobody's going to do it for us. Yeah, like today I was telling Eric, I said, Bia was in church in Yaoundé and he was surprised. And I was like, why are you surprised? This guy is going to be in church. It's as easy as that. Yes. And the truth is, this guy will rule for the next 7 years. That's what you guys are not getting. Yes. And until we understand that, you understand? Somebody can live in Gambia and be running his mouth. We don't care. Me too, I can open a Facebook site and be writing messages and say, I'm President Eliu. I can also do that. Yes. It is not
Pastor Evans, I have a question for you.
Okay. Eli, just if you don't mind, just a minute. Before we have a follow-up question on him, I want to thank Pastor for his comments.
Yeah.
But I just want to use the opportunity to say, Pastor, that as we speak about our country, Cameroon, we must recognize that hundreds of people have lost their lives in this process. Thousands of people are in jail for what is the truth, not a lie. I would stand by this truth. Whatever my political affiliations are, I do not care, or yours. But I will stand by the truth because the truth is what will set all of us free.
Exactly.
I am not in any pursuit of any individual idolation. But for the truth of the Cameroonian people who gave their blood and sweat, who went to the polls and won an election.
Can I respond to that?
Please let me finish. Please let me finish. We must, as Cameroonians, rise above what our inner feelings of what is our preferences. I don't carry a Cameroonian passport, right?
Okay.
But no law, nobody. It is natural law that I was born in Cameroon and nothing. Wait, let me finish.
Started together. University together.
Pastor, let me finish what I'm saying. Nothing can take that away from me.
From me, yeah.
And the reason I say Cameroon, not me, is because let us not try to rewrite history that happened in front of our own eyes. When history is written, we will know, and we must give credit to the Cameroonian people who rose up, went to the elections and voted out President Paul Biya. It is documented, it is evident, and even President Paul Biya has not demonstrated to you that he won the election. Has he? Why would you ask Chiroma too? Who has the responsibility to demonstrate? And so let's keep the truth for the truth. Anything else we can draw our own personal conclusions, but let's also, Pastor, let's respect the truth. I'm not saying that Chiroma is president. I'm saying that he is clearly documented to have won the elections. And that's a separate conversation. Whether he becomes president or not, That is a question that but I just want to clarify that for this moment of conversation, let's think about the 50 people that lost their life in the process that they shouldn't have lost. Let's think about the 2,500 people who are sitting in jail, and let's be sensitive. Let's give this moment to them of credit for what they did for our country. And as you're asking about what are we doing, those are people who gave their lives for our country, for you, for me. And so we should never forget that.
Okay, Ari, can I respond to that shortly?
Totally.
No, you don't have to, because I was just stating the facts. It's
like
not,
what
you don't
yeah.
have to.
But I want to add to this. I want to add to this, Pastor.
No. I have to because you made allegations, and I must respond to it. Yes,
okay,
I have to. Yes. So let's make it simple. Ari, this is very simple. What you call truth to you know, and I like the way the Bible puts it. The Bible says that you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And the Bible is referring to a man. It's not referring to what you and I call truth. No, it's referring to Christ. So the fact is, what you call truth to me is not truth. You believe and hold on to it strongly that Chiruma won the elections. I hold 100% because there's a system in Cameroon that tells us who won. And we know
let's
what that system says. Let's call it
facts.
No. Let's go ahead.
And we cannot. We cannot distort the facts. Please, let's respect the lives of people who were lost in this process.
I would never take that as fact, because this is what has caused a lot of disruption in the Cameroonian society. I feel bad for the people who are in jail today for what they don't know about. That is the problem.
Si je peux dire quelque chose au pasteur avant si Elisabeth me le permet, s'il te plaît. Le pasteur est très affirmatif dans ce qu'il dit, très assertif, et c'est même très imprudent à mon humble avis, parce que je fais partie de ceux qui ont collecté des résultats pour ces élections, et ce n'est pas la première fois. Donc, il faudrait être un tout petit peu plus prudent. Deuxième chose, je suis certain que dans ce call, il y a au moins une personne à l'étranger qui a un passeport camerounais. Au moins une personne. Je sais que ça l'embêterait que je la cite, mais il ne faut pas croire que tous ceux qui sont dans la diaspora ont forcément des passeports étrangers. Donc, il faudrait que nous soyons un peu plus prudents. Troisièmement, c'est très facile d'être à l'étranger. Moi qui lui parle, je suis à Yaoundé, au Cameroun. C'est très facile d'être à l'étranger et de donner des principes. Il faut être exemplaire. You should be exemplary, dear pastor. Please. I'm sorry to say that to you way. Please.
I'm listening to you, and I really buy what you're saying, my
brother. We will have to move on to the next person.
I must say this as we move on. And what I want to say, Pastor Elad, you're muted, Pastor Elad, you're muted. And I just want to, first of all, thank you for coming on. And I want to say that I'm really excited because, we should have conversations like this, because every point of view is very important. It moves that needle. This is the first thing I must say. And I really say from my heart that I'm grateful for your words, for your challenge, because there's a lot of truth in what you've said. Now, I'm going to start by what I disagree with and then talk about what I agree with, which is most of what you said. I think, as you quote the Bible, we're not in the place to judge who has a passport, who doesn't have a passport, or what kind of passport they have. That cannot be judged by somebody else, because, like Ari said, we have people who have died. We have people, it's a human survival. And so who are we to detect that? Because you're in Germany, for crying out loud. It doesn't matter the passport you have. And like Ari said, being from where I am, that cannot be discounted ever. I've never gone to Cameroon feeling that I am an American or I don't have a right. Now, again, going back to the people, what we have not done is that there are places like Nigerians, you can have a dual passport. The passport does not define people, where they are, who they are. All of that is nothing, because the world continues to evolve, and who knows what will happen tomorrow. We all may be having an African passport, or we could be having dual citizenship. But so I don't think that qualifies it, because what we don't want to do is alienate people. The other thing that I want to talk about is Shiroma. I want to say that, yes, I understand, and it's something I picked up very slight from what you said. What he did to somebody else is coming back to him. Hey, I think that's a point of view. But what I would say is that we should understand, because we here at Project C, we were very intentional. And I mean, in the monies we collected, everything going to Cameroon to make sure that people were educated and people were out and people went to vote. And it was rather painful because the laws that are put in place for this process to happen was abused totally. Because as you talk about, Bia, this is the process, we followed the process. And we followed that process, and that process was abused by the people who are stealing, who are destroying our country. Now, I want to come to what I agree with you completely, maybe in a different way. One of the things that I have been saying, the power has never belonged to a dictator. The power that a dictator has is given and mandated by the people, period. It is a fact. Now, I'm not saying he goes there, you immediately. It's a process because we're humans. It takes for us to realize what is going on. And then until people, they say when the pain of staying where you are is greater than the pain of change, you will change. It's just how it is. I'm not saying that, it's just how it is. So if the people are sick and tired, they will. Now, I want to qualify that in two ways. When you have 50 people who have killed, when you have prisons that are overflowing with political prisoners, we're not talking criminals. We're talking that our prisons, we actually have prisons not for criminals. I think the criminals are minute and it's all on survival. Our prisons are filled with people who come out to protest, like yourself, like myself. This is a fact. We know this for decades. Now, I have come to the conclusion that, now, here's where I will go with you. The rise up is in the diaspora. The rise up in the diaspora, because we have left Cameroon saying, this is too much. I can't deal with this. We have come into wherever we are and with these different passports, and we've chosen that so we can facilitate life. We can do more. And there's more happening in Cameroon because of this diaspora. There's more happening. We are able to do so. This is true. But have we risen? We have nulled, because it's not a first thing. Are you with me? It's not a first thing. So what I am saying to what you're saying, because this is what I've been really in my heart, and I agree with you 100%, the people have to rise. Diasporans owe it to Cameroonians. Well, if you say, I'm not Cameroonian, I don't want to deal with it, good. We bow to you, you go your way. But those who still go back, those who send money, those who have people, if you send money, you go back to Cameroon, you cannot do part of that and say, oh, I'm not. I believe that, which is what we're doing, is that the diasporans should rise up. We have to rise up, and that is the challenge. And so the question that I want to ask you is this. We would like you to engage. What will be a solution to engage diasporans in many countries, as we just saw in, I can't even think anymore, is it Hungary? What's the country we just saw where they took out the dictator? Well, this really came from the diasporans. It did not come inside. It's always hard when those people are already in jail. Whether you're physically in the jail or not, they are in jail because they cannot wield themselves freely as we do. This is a fact. So I'm just saying that, Pastor Ellen, I want you, because your point of views were very strong and it was great, if you can continue to engage with us, because one of the things is, how do we engage the diasporans where they can physically see? Because sometimes we're discussing, what can I do? When you can there's something I can do. My role is important, the little I do. That's the help we need in Project C. I am inviting you. I know you've been talking maybe with other people in the background. I'm inviting you to engage in Project C, not in the sideline for what you have said today, to engage in Project C, because we have to find a solution and you are a part of it. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Well, thanks. Thanks, Elizabeth. I think Kenneth is there before we get to Reverend. Reverend,
let me just close up. Let me just close up and leave, because she said things that are very powerful. And I really, what's the name again? Elizabeth, right?
Yeah, Elizabeth, yes.
Yes, Elizabeth, I think what you've said is very strong, and I love that. And you know, what is happening here, all of us are just pouring out our frustrations, because you discover from every level, everybody's frustrated. We hate what is happening. And I think it's a good place to start. Yes. And as you say, I've been with Eric, I've been with Array and all that. So it's no problem. I'm ready, and let's do this. Because for me, it's not really about pointing fingers now. It's about making things happen, because we're done talking. I mean, we're tired. And as you truly say, it's not about who has a passport, who doesn't have a passport, who's doing what. No. It's all about putting hands on deck. Let's change that country. And I think we have what it takes. So let's do this.
We're happy to have you. And I know this is not going to be the end. You're not going to be talking to Eric and Are. I need you in here in this game.
It's the beginning. It's just the beginning.
Kiwanuka, I'll call you. We need to solve this problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Aaron. Thank you very much. All is well. Love you guys, man.
Okay, so shall we go to Kenneth then and move on before we close the chapter on the Pope? Oh, Are, were you going to say something?
No, Kenneth. It was Kenneth. Kenneth. Go ahead.
Are, I'm going to excuse myself, as you know. I don't know.
Kenneth, it's over to you then.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you for giving the floor. Well, what I think about the Pope's visit, on an individual level, of course, initially I was opposed to his visit, given the circumstances of everything, because from my perspective, I saw this regime, the Paul Biya regime. I mean, of course, Paul Biya being an anathema to Cameroonians as a whole, he started his career in the seminary. So the way I was looking at this is that, you know, here is Paul Biya yet again with the 18th Pope coming to Cameroon, kind of like a baby chick, right? You go, you are in problems, then you run back and come back into your mother's, the mother hen's wings for safety. So I was looking at this more from the perspective that, okay, here this guy goes again. He's really, really hated by Cameroonians. And then he, as a lender of last resort or some sort of a palliative, he brings in the Pope yet again to, I guess, to get the people to acquiesce or what have you. But anyway, I think one of the very significant moments I saw what the Pope did, which made me quite happy, and the spiritual significance of that act was the 7 doves that he released. I think this was in Bamenda. The number 7 is very significant spiritually. And then that act of the doves, you know, it's sort of like cleansing the land, the cleansing. Of course, those doves were not released in Yaoundé or elsewhere. They were released in Bamenda. So there's a lot of spiritual significance to that. The Pope, I think, has cleansed the land of Bamenda. I want to come back a little bit to, well, the fact that, okay, I mean, why did Paul Biya institute the post of vice president? Is it because the Pope, was that one of the requirements, prerequisites for the Pope visit that we do not know yet? Only at those levels would they be able to tell us, or we shall be able to evaluate in the few coming days. Finally, please, I want to really talk a little bit and zero in on this gold present that was handed to the Pope. You see, it tells you how the sovereign wealth of our beloved country, Cameroon, is managed. It is reminiscent of the mafia, okay? Every country has its wealth, not in printed matter, but in gold bullions. And look at how a non-elective guy, Ferdinand Gongo Ferdinand, who is the Secretary General at the presidency, sits on his chair wherever he is and writes a letter to the Director General of Sonamin and requests for 1.5 kilograms of gold. You see, it's kind of like, I mean, these guys are poo-pooing on the stadium and not even realizing that what they are doing. They don't even realize the enormity of their actions. I mean, it's grotesque, right? And it reminded me, in the Second World War, the Germans had Americans keep their gold in vaults in America. And by the time the Germans requested that gold, America told them, look, we're keeping your gold for use anyway. So it's kind of similar here, whereby our gold or our sovereign wealth is not stored in vaults, maybe in the Ministry of Finance, in the Treasury Department in Cameroon, or what have you. But Sonamin is a gold company that is controlled for the most part by a guy called Bonaventure Assam. Bonaventure Assam is Paul Biya's brother's son. He used to be an MP. And coincidentally enough, Frank Biya, Paul Biya's son, confiscated his wife. And they're married today. So, you see, these are the kind of things that you write a letter to Sonamin, DG should send you 1.5 kilograms of gold for the Pope. Where is the registration number for this type of transaction, and where was that gold stored? How is it being managed? And I mean, I think we have a lot of questions to ask. I'll leave it at that, but that is honestly what I think about the Pope's visit. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ken. We're going to switch subjects and go into, Ari is going to take us to a whole new plane. But just before we do that, if you don't mind, I want to call on Tem Emmanuel, who's been with us before. I think he had some views on this that will lead us into the next theme. And just prior to doing that, I've been reading what Roland Felix has been saying. He obviously doesn't, he's in total agreement, I think, with Reverend Elad about Chiroma. But let's, again, I don't want to get into this personally, but let me, as Ari said, and most other people have said, it is the truth that will save us. And there are a number of truths that I think we need to look at. One is the Catholic Church recorded votes. The Catholic Church was in over 12,000 booths, and they recorded votes, and the count showed that there was an overwhelming support for Chiroma. That's the Catholic Church. The Pope, I was hoping, would even say that. And they couldn't get to it. I have a lot of respect for Archbishop Nkea, and I have a lot of respect for the Pope, of course. But that truth would have saved us more than almost anything else they did. Why can't they come out and just say, we're not saying add one vote to it, just tell us what you recorded. And my dear Roland Félix, c'est pas avec l'émotion qu'il faut qu'on va régler le problème de Chiroma. Non, pas du tout. C'est les faits. It's not what each of us thinks. Let us stay with the facts. And as we say, it is the truth that will save us. I don't care who wins, but let us have someone at this point in time, the one person who seems to have generated a lot of support from Cameroonians is Mr. Chiroma. That's why we support him. And tomorrow it could be anybody. We should, until we learn to do that, until we learn to take a step back and say, I don't like the outcome, but I accept it. Until we learn to do that, our country will continue to be messed up. Mm. I'm hoping that what the Pope brought to Cameroon was a willingness to accept the truth, however hard it is. So I'll invite my friend, Roland Felix Ayum, to take a step back. Only figure out where the truth lies and accept it.
Eric, can I just add on just one quick thing here? I just want to say that another thing is, we're not disassociating from Chiroma, but it's like, Project C is for Chiroma. And I really want to be reminded, our first, and I must say this because our first, time we came on Project C was on the 2nd of August. That will be in a few months, it will be a year. And we never came together for Chiroma. Those of us who met at the very beginning several times, never knew who was going to be. And I do want to say this so it can be noted, because maybe I would agree with Pastor Ella, Cameroonians forget really fast. We never knew who the president was. We never thought it would be anybody. As a matter of fact, when Shiroma came, Buba Bello came, they were the ones we doubted the most. We doubted them the most. But what we knew was, and that's why we invited them to come and talk about and people saw Shiroma in a different light. And we were all very surprised, but we didn't know how it was going to go. I want to say none of us knew that we didn't have any power towards that, for sure. And I would say that I was not a fan of Shiroma, but when he spoke and I listened to him, and I remember asking questions when he was on Zoom, and then we moved, and the election, we did a lot of things to make sure that this elections will be as fair in our own part. And I'm sure the other people who did that in Cameroon. And that is going down to village, the announcements. I really had all this connection because we were having so many meetings. And then Shiroma rose up. And we respect that, because that is the process to respect. I want to make that clear. And so if we are for the Cameroonian people and the Cameroonian people elected Shiroma, then we are for Shiroma. And that's how this connection comes, and we will be on this playing field. I just wanted to make that clear, Eric.
Yeah, just Eric, Eli, thanks for that clarification.
Yeah.
I'll crave everyone's indulgence for us to give Jane Mary. She has had her hand up for a very long time. Jane Mary, we're out of time, but we really want to move on to the subject matter of the day. So let's bring you in, and then we'll go to the concept of the nation.
Right. Yeah. Jane Mary, can you? Oh, she is. Okay, let me go ahead and bring her in.
She's there.
Yeah, I'm unmuted.
Okay, great.
Thank you all. Thank you, Ari. Thank you, everybody, for giving me a chance to speak. I, for one, was very disappointed with everything that was going on before the elections. And after the elections, I was also really very disappointed because we had so many people who came up to this forum. They talked about so many things they were going to do for the government to change. It never happened. And at some point, I was like, you know what? We need action. And I know the action has to come from us. But we are here in the diaspora, and we need the military back home, because they are the ones who are with the government right now. They are the ones I hope the message from the Pope touched, because right now, all we can do is try to support their action, but we cannot go in somewhere we have to go. What are we going to do when we go there? We can give them ideas, but we cannot go fight. But they have the power to tell Bia to step down. I was very disappointed with the clergy at the beginning, because every time there was something, they went in, and I thought they were supporting. I was so disappointed, especially with Archbishop Kia, that I need to really call back and apologize to him, because I was like, what are you doing? But then come to find out, he was one of the backbones to bring the bishop. I was against the Pope. I was against the Pope coming to Cameroon as well. But when I discovered he was one of the backbones for bringing the Archbishop, the Pope, I was like, well, at that time, I came to realize that they could not say anything. The Catholic Church could not say anything because they were being persecuted. They needed someone to come and be their voice. And that's why they brought the Pope. So realizing this, like I said, I still need to call Archbishop here and apologize for, the interaction we had. Well, the Pope coming to Cameroon really touched me in so many ways. First of all, when he came to Bamenda, that's the only time he went on the ground and kissed the soil. Then he went when he got to the cathedral, after all the complaints had been, levied on. When they came out, he released those doves of peace. which really touched me. At some point, I really think he has, sealed that peace in the country. Now, the problem is, did the government listen to anything he said? Did they listen? That's the problem. So my thing right here, I fall back to the military. I pray so hard that they listened and they could take action, because they are the only ones who can actually tell Bia step down, and he will do it, because they have the force, they have everything. They have the ammunition, they have everything, Another thing the Pope did, he came with his aircraft, but he flew with Cameco to Bamenda. That's telling us in a way that we have things that we do not recognize we have. We have, most Cameroonians do not want to fly Cameco because they believe it's not a reliant aircraft to take. But he came and he took that aircraft, So Paul Biya has never gotten into Cameco as a president of the country. He has never used that. So he's telling us we have a lot of things in our country that could benefit us, but we're not looking at it. All we're doing is looking outside, So it's just teachings that he brought to us, along with the peace and the justice and everything. And I just pray and hope that the military, listened. It touched their hearts, because I know Atanganji was sitting right there and he was just doing his nose like left and right. I don't think anything was getting in. And I know that at the time the Pope was coming, they did a lot of cleaning, they did a lot of paving, they did a lot of, that Bamenda airport has been a mess for years. They put in hundreds of thousands of CFA francs to build that airport and bring it back to top notch where we can use it. I hope they will maintain it, and I hope they can continue building like they are doing, and not just build when we have, important personalities coming into the country. Thank you so much. And I just pray and hope we can keep on with this and, let that country become what we want.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. So this is a challenge that we're facing. Great conversation. We're running out of time of even getting to the subject matter of the day today. So but I know that Dr. Therese has had her hand up. Alan, I'm sorry we may not be able to take you from now, but I would give Dr. Therese, if you can just give us a minute. We'll give you just about a minute to just voice your thoughts here, if that's okay.
Thank you. I'm going to be quick because I actually came to do.
Wednesday.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm actually by the road, please. I came to do a facial and I had to run out. I'm standing by the road just to answer this. Please, sorry if you find me pessimistic. I want to agree with what Pastor Ella said. I will leave what we disagree on. But I only want to go where we agreed. And I want to go where I agree with Kenneth. But it's just such a difficult thing, because even when I said I don't want to say what we disagreed on, when the pastor says that Chiroma did not win, it's a lie. I hope that maybe next week or in the next meetings, he can actually go to explain on what he's basing that. And if he believes that Biya won, then why does he have any concern? If Biya won, then the people's voices were heard. So he could not want to change the system. But I want to really go back to the Pope's visit. I am so sorry. I'm not thrilled. The last speaker, I'm sorry, Mary Jane, I didn't get her name. She said we have to go and thank her. I'm so sorry. I believe this is all of this is part of a mafia. The Pope didn't come to Bamenda for peace. The Pope didn't go to Cameroon for peace. I believe it's a well-orchestrated mafia we are inside, because they have changed the constitution, all right? They have put a position of the vice president. And you all should know that immediately after the elections, the government, I believe Atanganji, I believe that the government gave 500 billion for the Catholics. And by the way, I'm a Catholic. I gave it to them to go to the Vatican in quotes for a pilgrimage. And some of the clergy, they refused because they said the money could be used to do something better. But now my point is that they quickly changed the constitution to put the position of a vice president, which means that, and if what I've been hearing is right, if anything happens to Biya, the vice president should take over, which means that what they have just done is to ensure that we have a monarchy, so that if Biya dies today or he steps down, then whoever is handpicked by the president becomes the vice president. And the vice president responds only to the president. So what are we talking about? I expected the Pope, and please, I'm a Catholic. And my father was one of those who was actually honored by Pope John Paul. Some years ago, he honored some Cameroonians, about 6. My father is one of them. So I respect the Pope, but I expected the Pope to have turned down that goal, as Kenneth said. And it's not late. We can still ask him to turn it down, because people cannot be suffering and they're giving you a gift and you're accepting. It's not late for the Pope to turn that back to the people. That's point number one. Point number two, I heard one speaker said they had done petition with 600,000 people for the Pope to ask for political prisoners to be released. The Pope didn't do that. It's not late. We can ask the Pope to do that, because all we needed for the Pope just to even ask for that. Even if the country refused to do it, the Pope should have asked that. He's asking for political prisoners to be released. Elizabeth said that we have a prison where there are more political prisoners than criminals. That speaks volumes. The Pope did not do that. So what are we celebrating? I heard, Jane, you said we should go and thank Kia. I'm thanking Kia for what? And by the way, Kia is my family friend. I don't know what I'm thanking Kia for, because I don't. I just thought the Pope's visit was only coming to validate this government. And I don't think the Pope did anything. So my point is that Project C, those who are there heading Project C, please, what I will take from the Pope visit is that you people ask the Pope, and I'm part of it, that let him return that gift of gold that he received for them to build schools and help the people. Point number one. Yeah. Point number two, they asked him before his visit that he should ask for political prisoners to be released. He never did that. He can do that now. He has the power. He has the power. All right. And going back to the pastor Elad, who said people should go to the ground. I understand you're in Germany. Others can argue with you that you talk about passport. You should go to the ground to go and fight as well. But there are many ways to fight. I mean, the diaspora, I'm fighting. And we've seen that sometimes you can fight better when you're out of that system. And I'll tell you. I'll tell you, those who are inside the system, please, you look on my status, I have Ekane's picture. Ekane is my husband's classmate from high school. Shortly before Ekane died, he spoke to my husband. They're in the same group. And my husband asked him a question. Aren't you scared for your life? Aren't you scared for your children and for your wife? Ekane said, no, I am not. I know we're all going to die one way or the other. He died fighting. So there are many ways to fight. Anyway, thank you all. But please, before we praise the Pope's visit, let's analyze it through a lens to see whether was it for political reasons or it was for peace. And I want to say one thing before I finish, please. Those who are saying that they came for peace, please look at the history. When the Pope goes somewhere where there's political problems and he wants peace, he speaks for both sides. So I don't see the Pope going to one side. You go to Biya, go to Bamenda, and you want to solve a problem that's been pending for over 50 years. I totally don't accept that he was there for peace. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you for expressing yourself so strongly on this point. In the interest of time, because I have to run in the next 15, 20 minutes, we have to move on to the next, at least touch on the subject. And it looks like we will have to revisit the subject again to give it the full time that is needed. Because today we wanted to talk about the concept of a nation. Then the last 2 weeks we've been talking about the Constitution. We have been, the government ambushed Cameroonians with a constitutional amendment. And whilst we are heartbroken with the process, it basically has completed the process of the government completely disregarding the fundamental law of the country. That a country with no respect of its fundamental law doesn't really exist. But the essence of what a country is not its law. The law is an agreement. The Constitution is an agreement of how we want to be governed, how the people want to be governed, how the people want to see transition. It's an agreement which is binding on all the people. But before you even come to an agreement, you have to decide that you want to be together as a people. And that is what the concept of a nation is. And that's the conversation that we really wanted to have today. Obviously, it was important for us to talk about the visit of the Pope. You know, a nation is a large group of people that are united with shared characteristics, language, history, ethnicity, culture, territory. It is these things that forms a collective that we call a nation. There has to be an identified shared bond that gives a sense of belonging, even if you haven't met somebody, but you have a shared sense of belonging. That's what defines every country. Every country that has been successful has a set of characteristics, usually found in its motto, that clearly exemplifies who this group of people are, besides language, besides ethnicity. But they must have the sense of purpose, and that defines a nation. And based on that, it inspires a constitution. And I think before we get, and we're challenging, we have taken on the challenge that we will work with all parties to put in place a constitution for our country. But it begins by us understanding first what the concept of a nation is. And so that's the goal of the exercise that we wanted to begin today. And I don't know that we have much time to get into all of that conversation today. So I would say that let's wrap this up at this point, and then plan for next week to really focus on the concept of the nation so that we can give it ample time. But everything that we've been speaking about, the Pope's visit and all of that, bleeds into this further conversation about the nation, right? And you know, the varying perspectives that we have about this idea. And so I would turn it over to Leopold just for this analysis so that we prepare the groundworks for next week.
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. But just before Leopold comes in, I'm just, you know, maybe we should give Alan 1 minute and no more than that. I know he talks a lot. He's my young brother. 1 minute, and then we will go to Leopold to help us round this up.
Yes.
You wanted to say that Alan will fit us into 2 boxes again.
Well,
can you make
what he has to say?
No, I'm not able to. I don't know. I'm not even able to. I think
Teresa, but we'll get to that once.
Oh yeah, I can.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. I can manage it. I'll manage it.
Okay.
Alan. So I can. So Eddie would bring you on. I've lost my.
Yeah.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. And
you have a minute, sir.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
okay, great.
My camera's on. Yes, I'm right here.
Okay, very good.
My phone today.
You're set to go. Yeah, we can see you.
All right, Eric, thank you so much. And it's interesting that you mentioned that. Leopold, you know, the idea, the concept, if you guys missed the video last week, I guess there's a link for that. But I'm going back to that concept of those 2 boxes because it will apply in this particular scenario and it will also address Eric's situation. Let me put you guys in a situation. You are a father, right? And you have 2 children, maybe Cain and Abel, right? And there's a dispute between those children as to who has a particular territory or a particular land. Let's say, for example, you know that one of the children is very, very mean and can kill over that land. And the other one is the genuine owner of the land. Do you give that child who's a genuine owner of the land, knowing that the other one can kill that child? If I put you in that particular perspective, you understand the vision and the views of the Pope and even of Kea. And this also will address Eric's situation of the votes, the church having the votes. You are dealing with somebody or a government that does not apply by the rules of nature, does not apply by your normal rules and regulations. What do I mean by this? If you were to sit down right now and have a meeting, let's say, for an example, Latanga Paul, and you're talking to him eye to eye, and the meeting is going so well, and suddenly he removes the gun and puts on the table, just on the table, and you guys continue that discussion, that meeting will change. I want to believe that despite the Pope's visit to Cameroon being not to our power or not to most of us our satisfaction, as a father, as somebody who views the results of the masses of his Christians, he did the best he could do within his capabilities. I'm saying this because if you are dealing with a ruthless government, the Pope can fly into Cameroon and fly out at will. If the Pope came into Cameroon and said what he had to say really in his heart, and who knows when to go and visit the prisoners, I don't know if he asked for that and he was refused, because again, you are coming to somebody's country, they dictate what you do. We don't know what happened behind the scenes or what was discussed behind the scenes. But let's assume that even if it was in his mind, when he does that and he does all these checks, all these boxes that we especially want to see him check, and he leaves that country, will that cause more death or not? If Archbishop Nkeya releases those results that were so dying for him to release, and it can be done, we don't know if he gave it to the Pope or not, but if he does that, and it's going to cause more bloodbath, as a shepherd, as somebody who is ruling a people, is that the right thing to do? And we have to try to descend a little bit and put ourselves in their positions, right? Because at the end of the day, you are not dealing with, you're having a dispute or discussion between the people of Cameroon or the Southern Cameroons, and you're having a discussion against a government. Even though the government is a minority, the government has that gun on the table, that small gun on the table, which can determine the outcome of the relationship between them and the people. And if you are in Nkeya's shoes and you're about to do the right thing, but the right thing is going to cost you 10,000, 20,000, 1 million lives, do you do it? If you are in the Pope's shoes and you're about to do the right thing, but the right thing will cost you 1 million lives, even though it's the right thing, do you do it? And I think that once we put ourselves in Nkeya's shoes and we put ourselves in the Pope's discussion, in the Pope's shoes, and we are given that same opportunity, yes, like I said before, those two boxes, there is a time to do the right thing and there's a time to do the thing that will make people happy. Right now, I think a little bit of many of us are looking at it from a sentimental point of view that, yes, the right thing to do would have been to go into the prisons, to talk about this and that. But the Pope did some sentimental things that shows you where his heart is, especially when you look at the visit. And to make a correction about the airplane, I just want to put this, I think the previous speaker mentioned it. I don't think the Pope necessarily flew Kameko. Well, he could have, we don't know his mind. But if you look at facts, right, the Airbus A320 cannot land in Bamenda. The Airbus 320 is a large plane. The runway in Bamenda cannot handle the A320 unless it's an emergency land. However, it can handle the Boeing 737. So when you look at it, let me give it to you. If the Pope went to Bali, for an example, he would have had to have flown in a helicopter, right, to get into Bali. Not because he loves Kameko or the helicopter or the device. He didn't come into a country with an airline that could take him to all those places that he went to. So Kameko was not really a choice, but we're going with the facts. That airport cannot handle an A320, even though it is the demand is deemed as an international airport. So I figured I would throw in some of these things, because when you wear the hats of those people, when you're as you go up, you look at those people and what their responsibilities are. I believe that if you have a private conversation with the Pope, you will hear some things that he will tell you that he cannot necessarily tell you in public, because he is there for the people. He represents the people. Now, having said that, to go back to Elizabeth's point, and we might cut this stuff left, right, and center, our target has to be somehow tied to either the military or a military. Because that's the only way you can get to the table, so that when someone like Atanganji Paul is talking and puts a gun on the table just to frighten you, you have something equivalent, maybe a bazooka, to also put on the table. Even though you're having that discussion, you're talking, that's true. But you need to have that backup thing that also intimidates him, because he is not going to speak your language. It's not going to be a balanced discussion with anybody. That is where our goal is. What is that bazooka that we're putting on the table? I'm using that word right lightly, but what is that bazooka, Eric?
Thank you very much, Junior Michel. I call him Junior Michel because we both went to Sacred Heart, and all Sacred Heart ex-students, when you're an ex-student, you become a Michel. And he would call me a Supra Michel, and I'll call him Michel. Anyway, thank you very much. And I also wanted to thank Professor Atanga Wanzi, Teresa, who had to say that, put a lot of what she said in perspective.
Yeah.
She comes she was delivered by a lady who delivered somebody else called Atanganji. And so you can see the two sides of that family coming out as powerfully as, Atanga, Paul doing what he's doing, and Teresa saying what she's saying, which obviously I just thought by saying this, and I had to have authorization from her because I didn't think I should say it, and she did, said I could.
Good job, Eric.
Yeah. So put that in perspective. She knows what she's talking about. Anyway, thank you all.
Yeah. Well, Leopold, I think that brings us to the end of our conversation today. We want to thank everybody for their contributions. And yes, we're bound to have different perspectives. But one thing that I would urge everyone to think is that we have a common destiny. And no matter how we intend to project our perspective, we must realize that we do this not for ourselves. We do this because we are called upon to do it for future generations. We do this not because it provides bread for us tomorrow, but hopefully we do this so that the children that we are not born today will live in a country that is better than what we are experiencing today. And if we can rise above the need for us to win now, if we can rise above the partisan labels that we put on ourselves and really think Cameroon and think about this nation, think about the pride that comes with us being independent and people who fought for our independence, that we do not know their names, because not everybody who died fighting for Cameroon's independence is being recognized. Many of us will go down in the footnotes of the history of Cameroon, but let's hope that even though we may not get any badges or any recognitions, that we played our part. And that's why we are here today. That if all of us were just doing the little that we could, then maybe we can manage to change the trajectory of the future of our country for generations to come. And that's what we ask of you.
Tout à fait, Harry. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Et nous réservons pour samedi prochain le débat sur la nation. Tout à l'heure, quelqu'un a demandé, est-ce que, je crois que c'est docteur Thérèse qui a demandé, est-ce qu'il nous appartient de discuter de la Constitution? Ben, effectivement, c'est ça notre but. C'est une affaire citoyenne d'abord. Et nous espérons qu'ainsi, nous allons remettre le citoyen en acteur. Il s'agit donc de continuer de sensibiliser pour cela. Et puis, ce sera très intéressant parce que quand on aura débattu de la nation, on comprendra tout naturellement qu'il faudrait remettre la nation au-dessus de l'État. Donc, voilà un peu. Merci.
Okay.
Merci.
Thank you all. Eric, did you want to have any concluding?
No, just to thank everybody and said, we didn't expect the entire program.
Eric, can I just say a prayer that will close it with a prayer, please?
Okay, we'll get to you. Ari will give you the Reverend, your friend. But I just want to thank everybody that I didn't know we're going to focus on the Pope, but I think it's important because I hope at the end of the day, he sets us on a path into the future and that we can be reflecting on everything he said with regard to tomorrow, not today.
Amen. Yeah, amen. Yeah.
And I think that where we're heading as a country, Ari was talking about the Constitution, which is so important. The challenge that I got from Pastor Elad, which I'm really happy he spoke, is that my challenge is to the diasporans. We really started doubtful. We were almost naive in thinking that, well, there's hope we are going to have a correct election and there's no way they can change it. And so then there was a disappointment. But why I'm so hopeful, I see Cameroonians rising. We are engaging in the education, the diaspora, even though it may not seem like that. We have never, as I said, met in the way we're meeting, not in factions or groups, but together fully as Cameroonians. We don't even know what that means. And what Leopold and Ari said is that we're learning what it is to be patriotic. We're learning what it is to be a Cameroonian. So understanding that is our right. Maybe we've never thought about it, to say we are the ones to create this constitution. We are the ones. And I really want to emphasize that let's continue having conversations throughout the week. Diasporans, there's a lot we can do. Maybe by divine order, we had to go out so we can clear. There's always a plus to everything, not just the minus. Even within the minus, there's a plus. So I just wanted to do that.
Kiwanuka.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Elizabeth. I think Ari or Eric will send your number to me like immediately after this prayer. I'm going to call you and we'll have a discussion. Okay, so let's just pray. Let's say, Father, in Jesus' name, we just want to thank you for such a wonderful meeting. Father, I want to thank you for all these wonderful people and the spirit that you have instilled in us. This is our country. It is no mistake that we were born in this geographical space. Father, we want to thank you that you're giving us the strength and put the hope in us, knowing that we have the power to change everything. Because of the spirit that you have put in us, Father, we pray that we will not break. We will not fight. We will discuss. We will build. You have called us specially to change that nation. Father, no matter where we are coming from, you've given it to us. Father, we are ready. And we'll keep moving on. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you guys very much. Love you guys.
Amen.
Yeah, amen.
You can also call me. You can also call me.
I will call you. I will call you, Ari. I will call you. I say I like the glass. I like the glasses.
All right.
Okay. Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care, everybody. It was really good.
Okay.
Good conversation.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
The recording has stopped.